another episode of Education, the Teacher's Talking Terror podcast, where myself, Mike,
and myself, Courtney,
are back with a shuffle week as we just took a random shot into the horror history of cinema, and we landed upon a 1995 horror film, kind of a low-budget film called Mute Witness. Nobody of note in the movie except for Sir Alec Guinness of Star Wars fame, as well as many other films. And even his involvement with the movie is very, very minimal. But I said at the end of last episode, I really like this movie, so it shouldn't be surprised that it's going to get a higher grade from me. But yeah, what'd you think? I know we're not grading yet, but I've been curious all week. Like, what did Courtney think?
I kind of just like am in the middle.
That's fine.
Like it was good. Some parts, but then some parts I'm like, all right, let's get on with it. Like,
yeah,
keep going.
I had forgotten, and I will in memory after watching it again. I had forgotten how quickly the cat and mouse stuff gets wrapped up.
Yeah.
My favorite parts of this movie, and after watching it again, are really like the first act.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they get outside of the building, pretty much, then it really slows down.
Yes.
It's not bad, but it just it kind of changes it doesn't really change its tone. It's still a cat and mouse, but the mouse is given rein to run anywhere at this point. So the action spreads itself a little bit thinner, and more of a storytelling device. Yeah. And it does wrap up itself, and it's got some fun little tricks up its sleeve. But yeah, I do recall my favorite parts of this movie again after seeing it are definitely like the first third of the film.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I agree with you. It does slow down a little bit. But
yeah.
This movie is set in Moscow, but it really doesn't matter. It's just set in a big city, and we actually really fun opening to this movie because being 1995, in some ways, the opening of this movie is really kind of making fun of like 80s slasher films, as we're watching a film of a woman who is alone in her apartment. The radio's on. She goes into the bathroom as they announce on the radio that there's like an escaped lunatic, which immediately we know that lunatic's going to be in her apartment.
Yeah.
You know, like why wouldn't he go to this one specific apartment? And then, you know, it's kind of running through and he ends up killing her. He gets her on the bed and stabs her to death. And this is when we pulls out a little bit as the camera's panning across, as you know, he goes and sits down on like the heater. She gets up out of bed and kind of goes through her like stumbling death scene. The killer starts laughing. Another guy comes and sits next to him. He starts laughing too. The camera pans off and we realize that we're not watching a movie. We're watching a movie being filmed. Like everything that we're watching here is on set of the film they're making within the movie. And so I thought that was kind of a clever opening because you're like, oh, we're getting right into it. Like, look at us go. And then it just feels awkward for a moment, like when we see the killer and someone else, and we're like, then this lady's taken forever to die.
Right. Like she knocks everything over. Right. Like, oh man.
She grabs the curtain, and when the curtain does, like when her weight doesn't pull the curtain down, she like yanks.
Uh-huh.
And so, what it turns out is we have like Americans on set, but they're filming in Russia. So they've got they've got language barriers, you know, and the director is telling this actress like, look, I wanted you to put more into it, but come on, like that's too much.
Yeah.
So because she destroyed the set of this scene, he's like, let's do it again. And the set designer's like, you got to give us a day. Like we have to put everything back.
Mm-hmm.
So they close, like they're just going to get ready to get a shot.
Yeah.
Well, then like the time's up because they can only shoot during certain hours, yada, yada, yada. But they got to close the set. What happened really was when the killer went in to kill her with the knife, like it wasn't bloody because they like the pump to the blood to the knife like separated, so no blood was squirted out. But this is where we meet Billy, who is the special effects artist of the film, the star of our movie, but she's also mute.
Yes.
She's very talented in the role she has, but she can't speak. She can hear, she can communicate just fine, you know, via sign language or tapping and Morse code, but she can't speak. And so we wrap set for the day. Everybody heads home. Billy wanted to run back in and get a piece of equipment that she can work on for the next day, and she accidentally gets locked in the studio.
Yeah.
Okay, not a big deal. Like, really, it's not. Billy's sister, Karen, who is also, like, the boyfriend of the director, because this is how the small budget stuff works. Yeah. So Karen is over at Andy's, the director boyfriend. So, I mean, Billy just calls Karen. She's communicating with Morse code. Well, that's when she hears someone coming. She realizes somebody else is in this building.
Uh-huh.
So she, being mute, you know, she's pretty quiet, of course. And she just kind of hides, you know, kind of sees what's going on. Well, they're back somewhere on the set. It's actually the guy behind the camera. They're filming something.
Yeah.
And the guy behind the camera was one of the, like, production assistants or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, he was working on the crew of the film that Andy is shooting. She really didn't think twice about it. She realized they were basically filming, like, a pornography video. So you've got an actress, and you've got a guy in a mask, and you've got this guy behind the camera that she does recognize.
Yeah.
And she realizes rather quickly that they're not just shooting a pornographic film. It gets very violent, and actually it's a snuff film.
Yeah.
So they murder this woman right there in front of Billy. Of course, she, quote unquote, screams out, but she can't make any noise.
Right.
Billy's good, though. I'll give her this, that as she's backing up to kind of sneak off set, she knocks over like a coat rack. A bunch of stuff comes sliding out, but she sets the coat rack back up, like, to make it look like, oh no, nothing was wrong here. Like, puts the purse back. And this is where we really start to see my favorite parts of the movie, which is this, like, perfectly timed sequence of one person exiting a door as one person's coming in. Like,
and it was very, like, high tension feeling. Like I was laying on the couch watching it. I'm like, oh, go, go,
I
get
know.
out,
it's like
go.
the director really did a great job of the pacing of these scenes. As you know, she'll come busting out of this door, and you see the super long hallway, and she takes off down the hallway. She's checking every door. Like, you know, they're kind of investigating the people on the set. Of course, they murdered a person, so it's very important that they scope this out. She's checking every door, of course. And as we see the way the camera angle set, we see the guy coming towards the hallway door, and just as he comes into view of the hallway, she finds a door and goes. It's like, it's just so well timed.
Yes.
That you are right. It's very tense. So we get a lot of this back and forth, you know, running between rooms, trying to hide. She's now trying to, like, stay out of view of both men.
Yeah.
She's, you know, rushing through, you know, just she's hiding in an abandoned elevator shaft. At one point, she goes all the way to the down, and because they're dropping bags down, and she goes to check those out. It's the dead body. Like, she's hiding under the bag. Like, it's very, very close call and tense everywhere she goes. She eventually runs into a situation, though, where the director, like, catches up with her, like, on a balcony.
Yeah.
And like, shoves her through the window. Thankfully, when she falls, like, from the second story, third story, whatever, she lands, like, on a bunch of cardboard boxes that break her fall or whatever. And so she's obviously been tossed, and he's, like, standing over her now, and we're like, uh-oh, this is the end of Billy. Just as Karen and Andy come around the corner.
Just as sister comes around the corner. So then he's like, oh my goodness, she fell. Like, I hope she's okay. Do we need it? Like,
Yeah.
and Karen is kind of sensing like something's not right here
Yeah.
because Billy is like panicking.
Yeah. The look in her eye is just
Yeah.
so like distraught.
Yeah. So the police come. We've got this whole investigation type thing going on.
Yeah, because Billy's like,
yeah,
there's a murder scene, and
yeah,
takes him to all her favorite spots in the building where she's been.
And so they question these two people, and they just at one point, like, they're going through everything, and Billy's watching, and the masked guy from the movie, something. What was his Arcady?
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Like, pulls out a knife, and Billy's trying to get everyone's attention.
He's trying to warn them all that, hey,
and he just pulls it out and just starts stabbing Andy. I mean, blood is everywhere.
Why did the cops not intervene?
I know.
Like, that bothered. It's like they're seeing him do this, and they're just like, oh no. Like,
it's happening.
Up until the reveal that it's a fake knife and fake blood, because even Andy was reacting like he's being murdered. Yeah. Nobody stepped in to, like, no. That's where in America there'd have been shots fired.
Yeah. And so then, like, this is how they're basically the guys in the movie are just like, she just witnessed special effects. Yeah, like, everything was fake.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could make that argument, because really all Billy was going off of is, I saw the fear in her eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. My question, although I even said, because my wife and I watched this, and I go, where was the blonde? Like, the police never questioned, where'd she go?
Uh-huh.
Like, never. Billy's like, she's dead. She's down here. Like, at no point the cops were confused. Like, where is this woman then?
Yeah.
Because that question just never came up. Like, okay, that would have been, that's a good question, officer. We don't know where she is. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, so basically the police have seen enough. And they're like, everybody go home. Like, just go home. Mm-hmm. A night watchman who works his way through, we've met him before. He's the one that basically shut everything up for the night, and then suddenly is back like an hour and a half later. He's got his dog. The dog runs off, and we hear the dog whimper, and then he goes to check out the dog. Well, he finds the corpse, because obviously what Billy saw was true. There was a murder. The night watchman finds the corpse burning, like, in the incinerator, and the Arcady guy, or Arcady, or whatever his name is, he steps out and kills the night watchman.
Yeah.
Good thing he was already down there. Like, the night watchman, I understand making his rounds.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing that the murderer was already waiting for him.
Mm-hmm.
And we get we get like this part always confused me. I've seen this movie a handful of times, and it still didn't make a lot of sense, other than just being like this black market snuff film, whatever. But this older guy, Alec Guinness, which I know that name doesn't mean anything to you. Are you familiar with the Star Wars movie?
Yes, I am, but, like, yes and no.
If I say Luke Skywalker, you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
If I say Obi-Wan Kenobi, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Okay, like the old man Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yes.
Old man Obi-Wan Kenobi actor is this old man actor.
Okay.
Okay, that's why I keep bringing up Alec Guinness. Fun story, I was reading in the trivia. The director of this movie had this idea, not even necessarily for this film, but he ran into Alec Guinness years before he made this movie. And he said, hey, started making small talk. He said, I'd love for you to be in my film. And I guess Alec Guinness was like, yeah, great, sure, fine. He's like, well, we're filming in the morning. He's like, okay, fine, no problem. I guess they hit it off well enough that they filmed this scene with Alec Guinness. Alec Guinness did it completely for free. Showed up the next day, filmed this scene. Dude hadn't even written this movie yet. He just realized I have an opportunity to make a movie with Alec Guinness in it. So he shot this part for a movie that didn't even exist, and then wrote his character into this movie so that he would be in here. Which I'm like, that's pretty gutsy to just be like, hey, knighted, British actor, will you be in my film? And he's like, yeah, that's fine. This old guy, the Reaper is what he goes by. He shows up in his car and he asks the director guy, not the murderer. I think their names are hard to get. Lyosha, or their names are tough. So we'll call him murderer and director. Because Andy, we can remember.
Right.
So he basically says to the director, like, did things go okay? And of course, he knew that they didn't. So the Reaper just you got to take care of this. You got to clean this up. We can't have any witnesses. So one of those detectives that was on the scene starts thinking a little bit more to it. He starts connecting some dots. He's like, maybe Billy's story isn't so far-fetched. Because there's been some rumors that there's this crime syndicate in Moscow that makes these snuff films. Like they make and sell them. So he's like, maybe, what she said does kind of fit into this rumor. And he's kind of followed the Reaper, even though no one's ever seen him, he's the one backing this whole operation. So we start to see how the pieces of our story are coming together. We start to see how we're going to solve this crime, which this really, again, once Billy gets out of the building, the movie doesn't fall apart, but it definitely loses its steam.
Yeah, it slows down because it's like you were sitting on the edge of your chair watching them go through this building.
Minutes,
yeah, and then it's just like, oh, she's home.
Yeah.
Now the detectives believe her.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So it did fall a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like they had a really good first act, and they were like, well, we got to finish the movie somehow. And so Billy is telling Karen, she's got this really cool setup that's very dated in that she's got type to speech, basically.
Yeah.
But it's all robotic sounding as it would be in the 90s. So she's communicating with Karen with this. Well, somebody comes to Billy's door, which, again, you've just been through probably the most traumatic experience of your life.
Well, and my thing is, even Karen says, it's 1 a.m., don't answer it.
Don't answer the door.
No one should be calling or at your door. Don't answer it. It's late.
So Billy goes and checks it out. Turns out to be the killer. Well, both of them, actually. Both of them are there.
Yeah.
So we get some fun action here, as Billy does get the door shut on him, but they come prepared and they drilled out the screws. So they could just bust open the door. Billy's trying so hard to call whatever the Moscow version of 911 is. Yeah. Of course, they're not understanding what's going on because a robot is talking on the phone. I can understand that. So, we get the two killers are in the room. The killer ends up falling into Billy's bathwater, and because she is somehow dumb and smart at the same time, tosses a plugged-in hairdryer with him, electrocutes him. We get the really fun
lightning bolts.
Yeah, the fun superimposed lightning bolts over him, which don't happen when you're electrocuted, folks. I've never been electrocuted, but I'm pretty confident you don't have exterior electricity flowing around your body.
Yeah. But so this scene made me think when they're fighting and stuff. In college, I lived on the third floor my sophomore year, and the fourth floor was the top. Well, I swear my roommates were 1,000 pounds because they were the loudest people ever, and it never failed. Right when you're drifting off to sleep, you hear boom, boom, boom. So I actually kept a broom in my...
Oh, you did?
Yes, and I would bang on it finally after we'd asked them to be quiet. We'd called campus, because it was excessive.
Yeah.
And so the older man downstairs, like, getting mad,
Yeah.
you know? And at one point, I'm like, this broom's going to go through the ceiling because I am so frustrated. Like, just stop walking. But I'm like, I understand. But then I was like, man, maybe my roommates were like, being killed upstairs. I don't know.
Maybe.
But
every night, right before bed.
No, I could hear their shot chants. So it was, But yeah, so I related to the old man downstairs.
I forgot about the old man when you said that. Yeah. But yeah, because it's the movie. This is another issue I have with it, even though I really do like this movie, is like they do a great job of creating tension, but then they sprinkle in comedy.
Yes.
Which pulls you out of the tension. Like, Billy is no longer being chased by these two men in an entire empty building. She's being chased by these two men in her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're attempting to murder her. And these guy downstairs like, quiet, you know. It's like, I get it, but it's like, it takes away from the tension of the scene when you're cutting to this comedy bit. Anyway, the one gets electrocuted in the bathtub. And the detective shows up. Why? Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know why the detective. She did call 911, but still, you wouldn't send the detective out. You would send a police officer out.
Right.
Regardless, the other guy, the director guy, he does kind of capture Billy, but then the detective shows up and knocks him out and takes Billy. Like, come on. I remember the first time I saw this, I was very weary of the detective. I don't know if it's just he had a face that made him look a little creepy.
Well, and it's like he was there right at the right time.
Yeah.
Like, there's a knife literally to her head.
Right.
And he just so happens to knock him out. And then it's just like, Billy is so, like, she kisses him on the cheek.
Yeah.
Like, she's just overly thankful. So I too was like, girl, you just got into bed with the wrong man.
Yeah, like, I understand why you trusted him. But I'm like, he doesn't feel very trustworthy. So he provides the exposition for us, laying it out there in case you weren't paying attention. There's a crime ring that makes these snuff films. They think you have one.
Mm-hmm.
They think you have one of these snuff films on a disc. And they're trying to kill you to get their stuff back. Of course, this is when Karen and Andy show up at Billy's apartment too late. You know, obviously the place has been ransacked. Yeah. There's a dead man in the bathroom. There's an unconscious man in the chair, who wakes up and like starts to attack him. Two more policemen show up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As they're trying to get away from two policemen. These aren't really policemen, though. They're like representatives for the Reaper. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they kill him, Laosha, or the director. They kill the director before they start asking Karen and Andy all these questions about the computer disc. Of course, they don't know anything about it. Billy then takes the police officer back to the studio because she's trying to replay in her mind, like, I don't know what you're talking about, you know, and then it kind of plays back, wait a second. Like, when that purse thing fell over, I did see something slide under. So let's go back to the studio and get that disc. Karen and Andy rush back to the studio. Because that's where everybody's at and that's where the action has to be. And Andy's got a gun that he clearly doesn't know how to use. I don't know why the thugs didn't also take out Karen and Andy.
Yeah, I don't know. They were just,
But Andy doesn't think, he's kind of on base with us. And I think they probably purposely cast and wrote this detective to be
a little suspicious.
A little wishy-washy, yeah.
Yeah.
So Andy shows up thinking that the detective's trying to hurt Billy. So he's firing shots at the detective. Billy rushes outside and she's confronted by, it's like everybody's there.
Yeah.
The Reaper's there, the thugs are there, the detective's there, Andy and Karen are there. So Larson comes out of the building and just opens fire on Billy, which pretty much gives all of our initial thoughts. Like, oh, he was suspicious. Like, he's in on this too. No wonder he knew so much about the Reaper's activities. He must be in on it. So he shoots Billy a bunch, and then gives the Reaper the disc, and everything lines up. You're like, oh man, like our hero, the Reaper and the thugs leave. Karen starts beating the detective. Like, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait for him to finish this conversation.
Yeah,
and then she starts attacking the detective for killing her sister. Although Billy opens her eyes and gets up and shows off. She's basically got a squib vest on.
Yeah.
She's got like all these blood packs already in like under her shirt, so that when the cop was firing blanks, they could hit a remote and fire off all these squibs.
Yeah.
So Larson had the idea, let's fake your death, because they were going to kill you anyway. But let me kill you and then give him the goods. The Reaper didn't take the disc. He offered it to him, but he didn't take it. And so we finally come to our conclusion here. Larson meets up with Billy the next day, brings him one of the security guards. He brings one of the security guards with him. So Billy, it's like Larson's, like I said, it's the ending here's mildly confusing.
Yeah.
Larson's got one of like the fake security guards, one of the fake police officers that was on the Reaper's line. He's got him bound. He's got him gagged. Like, they're getting ready to drive away. Billy sees that same look of fear in the security guard's eyes. Security guard knows that the car's got a bomb in it.
Yeah.
And that's why he looks terrified, because he's like, I'm about to die. The same look that the same look the blonde actress gave. And that's why the Reaper didn't take the disc from Larson, because he's like, I'll let this cop play this out, and then we'll just plant a car bomb in his car.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets to Andy. Andy gets Larson out of the vehicle. The vehicle explodes. This corrupt security guard's in there. Larson's not, and that's just how the movie ends. Like, Billy saved the day by recognizing the look of death in someone's eye again. This time she didn't let it get away from her. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Mute Witness, starring Marina Zudina, Oleg Yagonsky, Igor Volkov, Sergei Karlenkov. Like, if you didn't think this was filmed in Russia, you're nuts. Because was.
Something which I guess I have never like been one to be mute, like I'm a talker, but I never understand in these types of situations, like, how do you stay quiet?
Yeah.
I don't understand, because we had a kindergartner this year that actually was like self-mute, like they talked at home, but they didn't talk at school. And it's like, how do you how?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a skill that I'm just not very good at, but how do you just stay quiet through all of that? Like, you're seeing your almost like brother-in-law. I mean, like Andy and Karen, had a good relationship. Like, you're watching your sister's boyfriend be murdered in front of you, and you just, like, no, I'd want to scream.
Well, she was screaming. It just wasn't making any noise. But I'm obviously, I'm sure there's some medical reason. Kind of a fun little back note is the Russian actress that played Billy apparently was she was a very poor English speaker. And of course, this movie was in English.
Yeah.
But it really didn't matter because her character was mute. So it's like, you don't need to worry about speaking English too well, because you're not going to speak at all. And I like this movie. Let's get to the grading portion of this. What do you think?
I'm gonna give it a C+, just because like it wasn't terrible. There was enough action to keep it going, to kind of make up the tension, made up for like the not gory and stuff. So I'll do a C+.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a B. Like I said, my fond memories of this movie come from that first act, when that's what I was really praising last week. And I watched it again. I'm like, it does kind of run out of steam after that, after they get out of the building. But I do think that there's enough like, it's not a confusing plot. There's enough interest in connecting the dots of, they think, you know, at first it was she watched someone being murdered, and then it like extended. Once they extended the area that she could maneuver it in, you know, when she gets out of the building, they extended the story to go along with it. Of they've got this snuff film, they think you have a copy of it on the, you know, it's like I'm like, okay, I'll give you that. But I thought there was some creativity as well as to, you know, with her being a special effects artist, it gave some credence to the decisions being made. Like Andy perceived to be murdered. Well, there's special effects stuff on set. With Billy looking like she was shot down by, you know, by the detective. Well, special effects are. It's like, so it was okay in that regard because they did set the tone that she does know how to do these things. And so it didn't seem so far-fetched when she did these things. So yeah, I'm going to give it a B. A B from me. So it is scratch off time, right? Is that where we're at? Is it scratch off?
Yes, it is.
Because this was shuffle.
Yeah, this was shuffle. I was like, no, it's your turn. But nope, it's scratch off.
Well, when it is my turn, I know what we're going to watch. Because it's been a while since you've seen some gore, and there's one that I know you'll enjoy. If you don't really like gore. But it is scratch off. We have 73 movies left on the scratch off. And let's see what we're going to watch next week. A movie I've not seen. Not seen at all. We're going to watch 1971's The Devils.
The Devils.
The Devils.
Right.
As I think we're both hitting a Wikipedia search.
Yeah.
Vanessa Redgrave, Oliver Reed, Ken Russell directing. Okay, those are solid names. Historical drama horror film. Okay. Historical account of the fall of Urbain Grandier, the 17th century Roman Catholic priest accused of witchcraft after the possessions in Loudun, France. Also focused on, okay. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Made 11 million. Yeah. Oh,
dark comedy, period drama.
It was 2 hours. 111 minutes. The Devils. Yeah, not seen this one. Man, one of these days, what will whittle? It's got a 7.8 out of 10, though. It's a religious horror.
Yeah.
It's another religious horror film. Vanessa Redgrave is a fine actress. Oliver Reed is a great actor. Got to rolling through the rest of the cast here. Jod Woodvine, I recognize that name. Ken Russell is a director. Is this what I think he directed? I hear Ken Russell, I think the remake of The Blob. And no, that's not Altered States, Tommy. Okay. Well, it's got good ratings. It might be a little slow. I guess we got to get these scratch offs done at some point.
You can watch it on your way to vacation.
I'm driving.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Well, we'll get this one knocked off the list then. The Devils. I look through this list. I'm like, there's so many other movies that it would just be much better watch. We could always switch it out. It is our show. Let's see. I don't know. Do you want to watch it or do you want to switch it out?
I'm indifferent. We got to watch it at some time.
I know, but I don't think either one of us are feeling like watching it right now.
A 2-hour movie sounds so long.
It does. Do you want to find one
shorter? Let's switch it. Let's switch it.
We're not watching The Devil's Week next week, folks.
Just kidding. Watch the next one be like a even longer movie.
Shuffle that again. Hour 32. This was a movie that it's slow though. The Witch. Delaney this was on her short list of movies to pick when we had her on the show.
The 2015 one?
Yeah. It's very good. I really, really like this movie.
Okay.
It reminds me, it doesn't have the gore factor, but there's some, like, the slow storytelling of, what was that movie we watched where she hatcheted herself in the face? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do. That was the one with the gross thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just kind of that.
Okay.
that slower. Do you want to do that one, or you want to shuffle?
Yeah.
Again? Okay.
This one's good.
Yeah, it is a good movie. It is a good movie. So we're not going to watch The Devils next week, folks. We're going to watch The Witch, 2015's The Witch, a much more popular movie. Anna Taylor-Joy is in this one. Probably recognize her. She's in a lot of stuff. This one also historical. It takes place in the 1630s. Not as high a rating, only a 7 out of 10 instead of a 7.8, but it's still it's a good watch. I do like this one. Like I said, it's a little slow, but it's got a really cool story to it. So yeah, this would be like our second witch movie in a little bit. We did that one
the witch one where she was kidnapped by the witch.
Right. I'm trying to remember the name of that one. You won't be alone.
Yes.
And the other one we were talking about was called is it that
Oh
one?
my goodness. I can remember the pussy guy on it.
Yeah.
Evil Lurks.
Yes. It's like it wasn't even
I'm what was it? When Evil Lurks.
That was December.
Yeah. What?
Yeah. December.
No.
That we posted that one December 27th, When Evil Lurks. It's been over 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, 6 months. 6 months since we watched that one.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I guess 5 months.
That's crazy though. Like I feel like
that was episode 65 and we're just recording episode 83.
Yeah.
It's 18 weeks ago. Wow. Like we've covered I Spit on Your Grave since then. It feels like we've watched it more recently than December. Saw, I Walked with a Zombie. But yeah, regardless, Blair Witch Project was also a scratch-off movie last week. We just happened to be a shuffle movie as well, so we double-dipped in that one. But we will be back next week to watch The Witch. Social media-wise, you guys could find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're listening to us on Spotify, leave us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe, or leave a comment or whatever, and we're in good shape. So I like our numbers. Possession, only 3 views on YouTube, but Blair Witch Project, 58 last week.
What was Possession? Was that was a scratch off?
Yes, that was a scratch off, and that was the one with they're like in London, and she has that like scene in the subway, and I liked it, but probably won't watch it again. But not like Frankenhooker. I'd watch that again.
Yeah.
Sixth Sense, You Won't Be Alone, Cat People. It's still so weird. Like
I know.
Late Night with the Devil being like a fairly new movie, 34 views. The week before that, 1942's Cat People, 93. People are like, bring on the old stuff. I Spit on Your Grave is still our most viewed episode. Followed by Resurrection from 1999, When Evil Lurks, and then Cat People. I don't know.
I think because I Spit on Your Grave is just so controversial.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, because I even felt grimy picking it, but I'm like, I gotta see what everyone says is so bad about it. And
right. I get it. I do. Do you have any big summer plans?
No.
We will be missing a week, folks, if you're listening, as my family and I are leaving on vacation. And so the episode that you're listening to right now, I am probably on a roller coaster. So unless you listen to it real soon, because I'm going to post it before I leave. But no, we will be back next week to cover The Witch. And I already told you we're at social media-wise. But for another week of education, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.